Oh.
Fish unless there's at least 4 inches of ice, and that's with the safety.
Oh, you gotta love it. The eyeballs going, oh, wow. That's the biggest one yet. Big jumbo perch. Hi, Brian Brosdahl. Welcome to the Ice Experience. Yes, Heather made me wear these. It's that Christmas season now, so we're thinking about the holidays. And the Ice Experience is about getting the most out of your ice fishing experience. And the Ice Fishing Bro Roadshow spanned decades and was a retail and seminar tour. And we've decided to take it live. Obviously, it's a good way to go nowadays. And we got some great guests tonight. We have Nick Cox. We have Craig Dickmeyer coming up, and he is going to tell us what's going on in Brainerd area. Tanner Cherney from Devil's Lake Tourism. He's just an awesome dude, and he's an outdoor sportsman, as well as Eric Naig, the legend of Rod and Reel, is in the house tonight, and Northland National Marketing Manager. So before I bring in Sam, and he's my co that keeps me on the go, I want to congratulate the winner of last week, and that was I don't want to butcher names, but Doug Stelton. Congratulations, awesome. Hey Kai, bring in Sam. Congratulations, Doug. Thanks for your support. How you doing, Sam?
Good. How are you, bro?
Hey, what's going on in your area there? You've obviously going to have ice. You're in the Bemidji area, and how's the bite?
Yes, we've finally had some cold temps, and ice is really improving around the area. See, a lot of people are on some good panfish bites, big bluegills, big crappies, as well as I noticed there's some smaller hard houses getting pulled out on the south end of Bemidji. So, like I said, ice is getting good. Walleyes are biting, panfish are biting. It's all good up in the Bemidji area.
Oh, that's fantastic. And, in the Bemidji area right now, the people are starting to creep out, but we still have to remind them Sam? They got to bring these.
Yep. Like I said, ice is in all different varieties, depending on what lake you're on. So be careful, drill your holes. Don't just follow other people's tracks. Me and you were out on Friday that there was a truck out there that I don't know if I would have taken a truck out on that day.
No way.
Well, make sure you know yourself how the ice is, and not trusting other people. But it is really improved this last week or so.
Sam, could you tell us how people can win the prize pack tonight? We got a great one. Let's see it.
I bring up the prize pack. We got another assortment of Northland tackle. We got the Bro Roadshow mug, as well as one of those giant light up glow shot spoons. So make sure to like and share the show, as well as comment your questions. In the last 15 minutes or so, we'll be answering fan questions. So make sure to comment your question, like, and share, and we'll pick a winner at the end of the show.
That's awesome. Looking forward to that. So on next, we're going to bring in Nick Cox, and he's a friend of the show, and he's also president of Razor Augers. Nick, come on aboard, man. It's good to have you again.
Hey, good to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
You got a special announcement about tonight. What's going on?
Yes. So, going along with checking ice, one of the great units for that from Razor is a 4-inch Scout. It's absolutely phenomenal for that. We're going to give away a Razor 4-inch Scout tonight, a Razor bait puck, and what Bro calls the old Razor screen hat. So we're going to throw one of these in. Not the best for out on the ice, but you'll be able to rock the Razor apparel no matter where you go. So
that's awesome, man. Hey, we love anything that's a giveaway, but can you just give us a brief topic? We always wondered, what drills do you use with a Razor Scout? What's the best drill for people to have and why?
That's a great question. The Razor Scout cut's great, but a lot of it has to do with what you're powering it with. So if you have potentially a bad experience with it, definitely check, the specs on your drill. What I'm using is a Milwaukee 280420. It's an 18-volt brushless drill from Milwaukee. It comes with a stabilizer handle, which is very important for, two-handed operation on the auger. What you always want to run in is drill setting 1. This will knock up to 1 or 2. You always want to be in 1 and you always want to be on drill mode. I don't know if you can pick that up there, but that's very important. That'll give you a good experience. 5 amp hour minimum battery is recommended, but if you want the big boy, you can go up to the 12 depending on how much ice or how many holes you're going to go and drill.
That's fantastic. Hey, hang on, Nick. We're going to bring in another guest, and you could stick around here for another 5-10 minutes. We have Craig Dickmeyer. He is a pro staff for Northland Fishing Tackle, and he's also a legend of the Brainerd Lakes area. And bring him on in, and it's going to be great to see this guy. Everybody remember him at the shows. He's a hard worker at the shows. How you doing?
Guys. Good. How are you guys?
Really good. What's the ice situation there in Brainerd area?
Well, as of today now, I heard that there's some trucks and some bigger houses getting out on North Long on the 371 side. So I'm guessing there's probably pretty good ice down there if there's more than one. Those guys are pretty knowledgeable, pretty safe down there. So
that
and
North Long, man.
North Long is a shallower lake, right, Craig? So not all the lakes in that area are to that level, but I noticed that too driving through this weekend.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. I think maximum depth on that part of the lake is about 13 feet. And then, the rest of it's pretty shallow. So that freezes up pretty good. I wouldn't want to be going through the narrows out onto the
big side. We got a picture of Craig here. Hey, Craig, let's see this picture of you pulling a big walleye through the hole. Oh, there he is. Oh, look at that thing.
That was a fun trip, and that picture actually is on the Minfish billboard too. So
fantastic!
Cool. Yeah, that was
these guys here that we have on the show. They're all hardcore, and I'm going to put some. Let's see Sam's and Nick's photo too after this. But yeah, could you tell us, Craig, what's your favorite Northland lure to use, or lures in your ap? Can you tell us why?
Well, right now, managed to get out a couple of times on some smaller lakes around the area, just walking out. So I'm a kind of a panfish guy during the wintertime, not so much during the summer. But the gill getters and the mud bugs are probably my two favorite. Now that they come in tungsten, they're going to fish a little bit deeper, a little bit faster. The key for us didn't get really any huge fish, but enough for some fish tacos, which is always good. Finding the green weeds, that was pretty key. Some weeds that were still standing, offered some cover and stuff. So, and then we actually didn't even have to use live bait, didn't have to use any spikes or waxies. Skeleton, the impulse skeleton, and the mini smelt were the two hot bodies. So plastics are working too. Kind of pick off those aggressive fish and then kind of hole jump around a little bit. You pick off one or two here, go to another hole, pick off another one or two there. So that's pretty much the extent of it. But I'm pretty excited to get out with the bro bug spoon and the coffin spoon and get into some bigger fish.
That's awesome. And
how do you like the new hooks on the gill getter and mud bug, the new tungsten ones?
The way that hook is opened up now, you don't have to, if you were into that, kind of like that little finesse thing, you would take your pliers or something, kind of open that hook up a little bit. Now it's already done for you. I think it's at a 60-degree angle. Is that how that? Okay. And that offers a lot better hookup percentages, I guess I should say. So that's whoever decided to do that was a pretty smart guy.
Yeah.
Maybe ice fished way too much, but I got some other photos here. I want to show Sam was out and Nick also here just a few days ago, and they were slamming perch on the bro bug spoon and coffin spoon, and these guys could fish. And then look at these perch are beautiful perch, and it looks like a bro bug spoon. So they've been getting out and getting after it. So not only does Nick run all aspects of Razor Augers, he's a fish head, and Sam is crazy about fish, and he's winning tournaments. But Craig, you're a local legend in Brainerd, and can you give anybody tips? You don't have to give up any names of lakes. We don't like doing that here, even though everybody would like to hear them. But where would you look for walleyes? Are you going to start at the shoreline breaks, or are you going to go out to the humps?
No, we'll start at the shoreline breaks. Like I said, cabbage and that kind of stuff is a pretty big thing because all of our lakes up here are pretty much stock lakes, the whitefish chain, the gull chain, that kind of stuff, Pelican Lake. Those are all stock lakes. So those fish are pretty much used to hanging around weeds. So that's where I'll start. But that doesn't mean that as the season progresses and bait fish change, that's time to start looking at some deeper stuff and maybe some things that are off the weed line, sunken rock piles, humps, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, how many lakes generally do you have in the Brainerd Lakes area if you range out maybe 50, 100 miles? There's a ton, isn't there?
Oh my God. You couldn't. I don't think even you, bro, I don't think you could fish that in a lifetime.
I'd like to try.
Well, that's what I said. That's what I said when I moved up here, and then I kind of settled on a handful that's maybe not so far away. But you look at the Gull Lake chain. I think there's 9 or 11 lakes in that chain. Whitefish chain has got the same, about I think maybe even up to 13 lakes in that. Pelican's a big, huge body of water, and then we've got little smaller lakes that I wouldn't consider them necessarily walleye lakes, but that doesn't mean you can't catch a walleye here and there. But you wouldn't target, walleyes in those lakes. Those are panfish lakes, bass lakes, great for tip ups, that kind of stuff. You're into pickling northerns. There's a lot of lakes around here for doing that.
So
well,
Craig,
Gull Lake gets a lot of cred because the Brainerd GCs is a monster of a tournament, and it goes to great charities, and those guys really do a super job over there. And Gull, if we could take that kind of pressure, we could mention it at least. I mean, it's just a factory, and it produces a lot of walleyes. And now Gull is really, really a clear lake now.
Yeah, the zebra mussels have cleaned up most our lakes around here. I know when I first moved up here, they were still finding some pipes that are running direct sewage into the lake and stuff, even back 25, 26 years ago. But those have cleaned up, and then the zebras have really filtered a lot of that water to make it really, really clear, which has impacted fishing. You've had to change a lot of things. The weed lines have gotten deeper because sunlight penetrates a little bit deeper. And so those weed lines maybe you saw in 14 to 17, 18 feet of water now have moved out to 22, 23. I've seen actually weeds down in 28 feet of water. So, I mean, we've had to make some adjustments. And I think that's what fishermen do. We make adjustments, whether it's bait size, bait type, location, whatever. The successful anglers are the ones that make the adjustments.
That being said, Craig, you talked about this weekend finding the green weeds was key for panfish.
Yeah,
I know depending on where you're at, we fish a ton of basin stuff up in Bemidji. Is more of your panfish bites down there weed line related, or is it more basin related, or a little bit of each depending on the lake?
Well, I think right now it's a little bit of each. You still could go find some basin fish too. I like well, it's not so much of a walk for me. Number one, these little legs aren't made for plowing through snow and slush. But no, initially you could probably look at the weed lines for sunfish, especially. There'll be some crappies always hanging around there. But I've already heard of some people. I haven't targeted fish out in the basin yet, but there's basin fish out there. They're always
and people in Brainerd. Nick, do you have any dealers there for razor augers? I'm sure you have somebody around that area.
Yeah, I mean, we've got, if you go onto the north side of Lake Mille Lacs or, all the way up that whole corridor, Prince, Tuts, and then you get up into Black Duck, Bemidji area, got Carl Adams, Timberline, Northwoods Bait. So definitely.
There's quite a distributorship going there, and everybody wants razor augers. So it's cool that you're getting into the Brainerd and Bemidji area and Grand Rapids and all around. I think that's going to help. And Craig, I get this question: where's a good place for a family to go in the summer or winter in your area?
Oh, I think maybe Gull with a couple of resorts come to mind. Let me think.
One
now.
good one.
Yeah,
there's a bunch, but Who
No, I can't believe. Well, you aren't my
Reagan's
age.
and Grandview, and
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, those are tried and true resorts, and
Yeah.
but there's so many in the area not to be left out. But they could definitely check out the Brainerd Area Lakes Chamber of Commerce, and I want to thank you guys for coming out. Nick Cox is the president of Razor, and he is doing a tremendous job. That is the hip auger company right now. And Craig, thanks for coming on. You're a legend of the Brainerd Lakes area, and keep on trucking. You're the hardest working man at the shows. Thanks for coming out to the ice experience tonight.
Thank
Up
Thank-
next, we have Tanner Cherney from Devil's Lake Tourism, and Tanner is an avid outdoorsman. He loves fishing, he loves hunting, and I'm so glad we could have him on because he's a guy that probably would be fishing right now, but he also is a fountain of information, and it's good to have him. Hey, Kai, bring on Tanner. Hey, good to see you, man.
Good to see you too, bro. How are you guys tonight?
Absolutely. We're just glad to be here, and it's all about ice talk. And if I could have ice year round, I'd be so happy. And it's good to see you. And we were wondering, how's the ice in your area? Everybody wants to know.
You know, since the last time we talked, it's been really good. We've had some super cold snaps that come in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. So we've locked up really good. The main lake is froze over itself. And I would say right now, anywhere throughout the whole Devil's Lake Basin, we're sitting with anywhere from 6 inches to probably a foot in some of those northern feeder lakes. So, you know, like we were saying, you know, the last couple of weeks, it's going to be go time here before we know it. And by God, we actually hit go time before it's the holidays. So it's going to be a fun couple of weeks here as we move into the new year. We've got four-wheelers and people starting to venture out without just walking out there. So it's an exciting time for the fishing up here.
Absolutely. And now Devil's Lake is so big that everybody's chomping at the bit to take a machine because sometimes they'll travel miles. I mean, you could walk, but when you're dealing with snow and all that other stuff, it's just good to have a machine. So that's why they're just waiting to find out that they could actually take the stuff. And Devils is big, so they got to watch out for pressure ridges and everything else. But many a guide groups, the legendary Perch Patrol and all the other Perch Eyes and all those guys, they're all out there and they've made their names on that lake in that area. And Devil's Lake, the populations are doing really good, aren't they?
They are. You know, we came off a fantastic summer. Myself personally, it was a great year for walleye fishing. Talked to all the guides in the area, and they just said it was way better than expected. And then going into late summer, early fall, when our game and fish did their netting numbers, everything came above average for, you know, that 15 to 20 inch year class, which is that if you're looking for dinner and a couple fish for the frying pan, that's that perfect eater size. So yeah, everything's looking great for that. You know, last winter we had a great winter for perch fishing, and they're so tough to target in the winter or the summer out here in the open water, out in that 30 to 50 plus foot basin depths, and fishing the little lures out there, it just gets to be difficult. So tough to judge what the summer was like for those predation numbers if those smaller yearling perch were able to get through. But I think if everything stays tried and true to what it was last year, it should be another good winter for that perch.
Well, that's pretty cool. And the thing is with Devil's Lake is Sam and I have caught fish in the shallow 6 to 7 feet of water in the winter on flats. And then there's out deep, there's trees, there's houses, there's structures, there's depressions, there's bridges, there's pilings. There's so much to fish beyond an actual lake dynamic that the fish got to be pretty much evenly distributed throughout the lake. And walleyes, what depths would you recommend people to target walleyes, and what depths for perch?
Absolutely. So when when we go to the sports shows, that's one of the main conversations we have with people is how do I even break down the lake? And the first thing is there are very evenly spread out. So best thing to do is take a lake map, take a section, and just focus on that if you're there for 3 or 4 days, and just learn that, because there are going to be walleyes mixed in there. There are going to be perch. When you're talking this next month or two here, walleye fishing is going to be that 10 to 20 foot range. That's kind of the old lake shoreline. You get into about 15, 17 foot of water, find yourself either, some structures, some pinch points, things like that. You should have a pretty good walleye bite in the morning or evening, right as that first light and last light time windows appear. And then any kind of structure that you can find on your lake map. Google Earth is a fantastic tool, especially for our body of water. go up there, pull the history back, and you can see in the early 90s where those flooded roads were, where those rock piles were, the fence lines, all that kind of stuff. So you can really pinpoint, target those areas before you actually make the trip out to Devil's Lake and get them on your GPS. And when it comes to perch fishing, it's a whole new ball game. That is a run and gun style of fishing, and they're very nomadic in our lake. They're always chasing around the bait fish, generally the freshwater shrimp in our lake, and it's just a matter of getting out here. And our bait shops are so great about even just giving you enough information to say, hey, the last couple of days we've heard of a good bite out in Black Tiger Bay, or maybe out in the Minnewacan Flats. And it's just a matter of getting on top of that bite and then just being prepared to drill. It wouldn't be uncommon for a couple of guys to drill 30 to 50, upwards of 70 holes in a day just to kind of stay on top of those active perch.
And one question I always get, and I had it last time, what's your favorite Northland tackle bait? If you had to pick one.
And what colors?
And what colors?
Oh my gosh. Well, if you were to open up my tackle box right now, you would see a plethora of the buckshots in there. And I tell you what, for walleye fishing and perch fishing, it's tough to beat that in Devil's Lake because you can catch both species out of the same hole with that exact lure and not have to worry about having a whole array of bait with you. And when it comes to colors, it varies so much by conditions with sunlight and everything. But if I were to pick the 3 colors I have the most of that I probably utilize the most, it's going to be chartreuse. Red is great, and then the purplish color with a little bit of white and the UV on it's been a really good one for me, especially in low light conditions in the evening.
Fantastic. There's big pike for you, Sam, right?
Oh yeah, I love chasing big pike, and I've been out there fishing the perch. I've done the walleye, but I haven't done the pike yet, and I'm looking forward to getting out there and doing some pike.
Oh,
these days.
That's the beauty of Devil's Lake is, you may have an hour or morning bite for walleyes, and then it kind of fades off as the sun peaks over the horizon, but you can move out and chase perch for the rest of the day. You can move in shallow, throw some tip ups up, vertical jig, and get into a pike bite, and then get ready for the walleye bite as the sun starts to set again. So you can make a whole day adventure out of it.
Man, it sounds like a busy place to be a fisherman. It's fish morning walleyes, afternoon this, and evening that. And good thing there's no night bite. Or is there a night bite?
I've tried to figure that out myself. I've spent a few nights on the water and sporadically we'll catch a couple. And last year was probably the first time I noticed it where, sunset was 5:30 and by 6 o'clock, the bite pretty much dwindles down. So, there could be a night bite, but myself personally, I haven't experienced it. It seems like as soon as that sun sets and it gets dark, you have about a half hour there where it's game on. And then it's just all of a sudden you can mark them and they'll follow you all day long, but they're just not active.
It's pretty cool. Sam was telling me, Sam, they used a fish cleaning house there. They have them for the public?
Yeah. So, Tanner, there's towns that are ski towns. There's towns that cater to backpackers, canoers. But one thing I noticed about Devil's Lake is it is a fish town. Tell us a little bit about all the amenities, everything you guys have to support fishermen.
Absolutely. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head right there. It is totally an outdoorsman's paradise. Our town has been so gracious and opened its arms and basically accommodated to anglers and hunters. And so, yeah, it was, I forget how many years ago, but we, through a community effort between a couple of joint ventures, were able to put in a year-round fish cleaning station right south of town by Ed's Bait Shop. And, it's open, free of use, air conditioned in the summer, heated in the winter. And that kind of just sparked a whole kind of plethora of things that exploded from that with our hotel industry started to basically, I bet you there is more hotels in Devil's Lake now that have their own indoor fish cleaning stations than don't, just because of the amount of people coming in that are utilizing that. They found it was an excellent thing to have for the offerings of people traveling into town. So yeah, there is so many different things that have blossomed out of this tourism explosion that happened probably in the last 15 years with the lake basically expanding to what it is.
That's awesome.
What a cool place. There's like maybe 2 fish cleaning houses I know in my whole area, and somebody's got to clean up the guts and everything. But what a spectacular thing to have, because they're there to fish, and the resorts obviously have them. But I mean, for hotels and all that, and then public use areas. So I would imagine that place gets pretty busy about 5 o'clock.
Oh, it gets very busy. And the other thing I want to give a little kudos to for our community is, a lot of places you do have to pay for boat ramps or access onto the ice. And, we do have ice roads up here that you got to pay if you're bringing a hard house up or things like that. But we do have our Lake Access Committee in Devil's Lake that has funding in place to clear off, I want to say it's 5 or 6 of our public boat ramps in the winter. And it's a matter of just getting the parking lots cleared off. So if you want to drop your machine there, get off onto the ice, and we do have the ramps cleared off, so at least you can get onto the lake, and it's kind of go at your own from there, but it gives you the ability to get out there and not have to necessarily find a road that may be limiting where you can go or worry about having to walk only.
That's a cool thing. And around here, some of the like major lakes are kind of, I don't know, it's like $20 to take a truck and a house out. And some of these lakes used to have accesses. I don't even know if they have them anymore. I ain't gonna name any lakes. That starts up a can of worms. But what you're doing there in having public access and maintained road, you gotta pay. I mean, that's I wouldn't want to be a plow driver and have to maintain a road. Do you make any money? That the price of trucks and parts? But the fact that you guys are doing that's really cool. And I've always liked what you guys do as a group in the chamber and stuff. It's a fun place to visit. Do you have any resorts you'd recommend people to check into as far as ice fishing out there, or just who would you recommend, or is there too many to list?
There is a whole bunch of them, and they all have different offerings from full service resorts. Like the first one that comes to mind is Woodland Resort. They're located right on Creel Bay. They've got everything from cabins to, I think they even have a spot where if you had an ice house, you wanted to just park it on their shoreline, and they've got the restaurant and bait shop right there. And then you've got, all kinds of different places like Ackerman Acres that has this very similar setup. There's Bry's Guide Service. I mean, all of these places now have basically in some way, shape, or form put in accommodations to basically have your one-stop shop right on that property, and it's really opened a lot of doors in the whole community. And it also has helped with if you got specific dates you want to come up and you've got a larger group of people, it gets to be tricky to try to find 3 or 4 days that we're going to accommodate everyone, where now that we've kind of built it up to that point, we have a lot more flexibility with the lodging and the guide services and just everything in general.
That's just a cool thing. And I got a quick story to tell. Heather was with me when we were fishing, and we actually did stuff for you guys at the chamber there one time, and she hooked something big. And you never know in Devils. In tournaments, I've caught walleyes over 30 inches, at the NWT, one of their championships. And but we fought it. We had a 6-inch hole, and I learned my lesson over there. I couldn't fit the fish up the hole, and it was a white bass. And we drilled a second hole and we got it up, and that fish had to be 4 pounds. Tell us about the white bass, and maybe the locals don't like them, but some of us just like catching fish. There's got to be a lot of them.
There is, and I wish I could show you, but I've got one on my wall here, the same thing through the ice, and it was just one of those deals. I mean, in the summertime, you could have a heyday out there if you find the right spot where the water is just boiling and you throw a 1/4 ounce jig on and go have a heyday. But yeah, the white bass fishing is out of this world up here, and I tell you what, if you're looking for a fun time and the opportunity to catch a trophy-sized bass, Devil's Lake's a good spot for it. And this last summer, I bet every time I was on the water and I kept a few fish, there was almost a couple, 3 or 4 different little white bass in the live well. That's, I mean, what these walleyes are feeding so heavily on. So if there's a little clue to a good color choice for bait, that might be a good one this year.
Maybe the silver coffin spoon. What do you think, Sam?
Oh, I think they'll eat that. And I can't remember what the retailer is, but one of the retailers have a custom color white bass mimic minnow too that we sell a lot of out that way. So yeah,
that's
State
really
Tanners.
cool.
For someone headed out your way, before they get there, is there a good website they can look at to get a fishing report or anything like that?
Yeah, so our website's just Devil's Lake ND as in NorthDakota.com, and we post weekly fishing reports on there. It links back to our Facebook page where we try to do our video reports on there from the ice every week too. And it may not be as super in depth as you necessarily can get everything, but at least it's enough to get you if you're looking for particular baits, colors, depths, things like that. It gets you started in the right direction. So if you're making the venture up, you've got at least a little bit of knowledge that hopefully will help put a few fish topside for you.
Well, that's, all this is so much to bring in. I'm glad you came out tonight, and I hope we can, some people who want a destination to go to can think about Devil's Lake. Go to Devil's Lake, and maybe you'll go there again. It's just a blast. I've done tournaments out there. Love the place. And I also had a viewer, Mashad, last name Mashad said that there's a fish cleaning house at Federal Dam, and that's true. And there's one in Walker, but we could use some more. I'd love to have that. That was James Mashad. Great comment there. Well, Tanner, I appreciate you coming on, and everybody check out the Devil's Lake Chamber of Commerce if you're going to go there. And they keep things up to date, and there's a lot of guide outfits out there and resorts. Thanks for coming on the show, and we're glad to have you.
Thank you guys. Have a great evening.
All right. Hey, Sam, you know who's up next?
Yep.
Eric Nag, and I'm going to let you do the introduction to Eric. He's a legend.
Yeah, so Eric is Northland's VP of Sales and Marketing. He's been around the industry forever. Used to fish the professional walleye tour. So he does everything sales, marketing, and then we work very closely together in the product development stuff. So a lot of the stuff I've learned from Eric. He's been an awesome boss, and can't wait to start talking to him.
Hey, Eric, good to have you. Kai, bring him on. How's it going, man?
It's going great, bro, dog. How are you guys?
Awesome.
We're glad to have you on the show. And believe it or not, everybody, what timing? Eric just got back from Devil's Lake. And I'm telling you, he's got some fresh information. This is so fresh. I mean, you probably still smell like a walleye, don't you?
I'm just cleaning out my pickup. I'm in my garage right now and putting all my depth finders and lures away and melting all the road grime off my truck.
That's awesome. Devil's Lake is so big, and not necessarily do you have to fish just Devil's Lake, but could you give us an idea of what you seen out there, what you caught, and what you use for bait?
Yeah, certainly, bro. We wanted to target walleyes, and we also wanted to try to find some perch. So this time of the year in December, first ice through middle of January, there's always a pretty reliable shallow walleye bite. And Tanner gave one of the best tips that I've ever heard going to Devil's Lake, and that is to look at the old shoreline. So all throughout the Dakotas, if you pay attention to where the old shoreline is, that's where the fish are going to be. So the first day, we took a little adventure up to what Tanner would call the feeder lakes, so Mike's and Alice and Irvin, those lakes up north of the big lake. And we ran to the old shorelines and fished around, and we didn't catch a lot of fish, but my daughter's boyfriend caught a 27-incher, and we were really excited about that.
Walleye?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome, man. What a way to start, huh?
So that kind of that was our first day, and it was shallow water fishing. So, we tried to be quiet. The water's a little dirtier up on those feeder lakes, but we tried to be really quiet, sit in one spot, and we were catching fish in 5 feet. And it's really an interesting way to catch walleyes. So sometimes when you set the hook, I'm a big tall guy. I'm like 6'4". You set the hook and they sometimes bounce against the bottom of the ice. I don't know if you ever done that, bro, but
yeah,
they're a challenge because you're not in that deep water and you can't fight them or play with them. And so, but it's a lot of fun. So you lose a few fish, but that's okay. We were just having a great time, and I had a pretty decent crew out there with me. I had my daughter and my brother-in-law, my wife, a couple friends of my daughter's. So we spread out, and boy, we caught a lot of fish. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome. And I was going to say, that setting the hook on and hitting the fish on the ice. I've done that in all these area lakes, Leech, Cass, Winnie, when you're fishing in 3-4 feet of water, late in the year, sometimes early, but the river backwaters down, I ain't going to name any spot on the spots, but sometimes you're fishing crappies and bluegills in 2 to 3 feet of water. And I've actually set the hook and they've flown out of the water and they're just slapping on the ice. And it's crazy, but you hook into something big in that shallow water, they just wreck the area under the hole.
It's a lot of fun, and we've done it for a few years in a row, and so we did that for a couple of days up north, and our best lures, Sam made me a new prototype that we caught some big fish on that he won't let me show you. But we caught the most fish on the coffin spoon for walleyes, on the coffin spoon and the bro bug spoon.
Wow.
And I had all 7 of us were fishing bro bug spoons or coffin spoons, buckshots, rattling puppet minnows. One of the key things is in that dirtier water up north of Highway 2, you really want to. I like to use a bigger profile, so I like to use a heavier spoon, just because it's big, and it's I think those bigger walleyes, they're looking for a bigger profile. And the thing is that when they're in that 5-6 feet on the old shoreline, like Tanner said, they're there to do one thing, and that's eat.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And if they're eating small white bass, a young of the year white bass is going to be much broader and bigger than maybe a perch. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, for sure. And that coffin spoon has a nice little broad profile like that, so it's a hot one.
Here's the one we were talking about before we came on. This is Glow Chub. That looks like it would be absolutely fantastic at Devil's Lake, and it's got that glow back. And I don't know if anybody's tried that out there, but these things really kick butt. And I was using them on Mega Live the other day, and they were going 6 feet away from my hole in 20 feet of water, sometimes almost 8. It's unbelievable how far they travel.
Yeah, that was a cool thing. When I was out there watching you with that Mega Live, bro, is especially with the perch, you throw that bigger lure down, and being able to see away from the hole, you could see the competition of the perch racing in, trying to grab that big bait first, because of, they want to eat first. The first one to get there is the one that gets to eat. So it's cool to watch that on the Mega Live.
Absolutely. And Eric, how do you fish your spoons there? I've been getting that question here. And how do you fish the spoons in those shallow bodies of water versus deep?
What we found was, and this is the bro bug spoon, bro, that I was using.
Yeah.
And that was the hot one. And you can see it's large. It's a quarter ounce, and we were fishing in 5 foot of water. So we didn't need it to be, to get down there fast, because you just lift your line out of the water and make sure the minnow head was on there and drop it back down.
That's shallow.
But the profile was important. What I like to do, and I learned this from guys like you, is I want to keep that bait moving. So I'm pounding a lot. I'm shaking it a lot, and the fish will come in pretty hot and eat it. But it was interesting, because sometimes I'd take it and set it on my bucket and talk to my daughter and play with the new depth finders that we got now. And I'm sitting there talking, and the fish would come in while it was sitting still.
Oh.
So dead rods, and that's one of the fun things about ice fishing, is you can always have one rod to call them in, but always put something down there and don't move it, because a lot of times those fish want to come in and they want to eat that bait when it's sitting still.
And someone was wondering what the spoon was. The original Glow Chub is a coffin spoon, but it's got that nice silver finish. I've already got ice fishing fingers going here. Sorry about that, everybody. And but that thing really tumbles. And I just gave you a little clue what I've been smacking a lot of fish on. And we're always changing. Sneeze, pink tiger, red glow, brobuck spoon, coffin spoon, and it's always changing. But Eric and Sam, both of you guys, have you ever used drop shots in the wintertime, like the old Green Bay perch style fishing with live bait?
I'll let Sam start. I've tried around. I've played around with it. One of the things, one of our friends in Canada is doing something with a buckshot rattle and running that on the bottom and running a hook up a little bit higher, banging that bottom with the drop shot and the rattle, and to attract them. And then they have the little minnow up there swimming around, and so the fish come and look at the stuff going on at the bottom, and up they come and eat the
punish
minnow.
it. So, yeah. What about you, Sam?
Same. I've messed around with it a little bit. probably not as much as I should. I want to start doing it more, but like Eric said, you get that disturbance on the bottom, but then it's that nice little profile up top, and it seems like they can't resist it. How about you?
Well, here we got, hey, Kai, want to bring up some of those photos with those perch here? I've been using Drop Shot, and I use it all the time. You can see there's a perch. And if you look down below, there's a sinker, and I got a bass style sinker that I looped through, and it's actually a clip sinker, so you could adjust your depth. And up to the top, there's a bead, a Gamakatsu, finesse wide gap, or maybe an octopus style hook. And then I got a rainbow that was probably way too big for that perch, but he ate it. And the next photo is a closer up one, and you can see a little red bead, a little bit of that. But those, I just fire them down the hole, set them in a rod holder, and then I jig, bro bug spoon, coffin spoon. And when it's slow, if it's super busy, like when you're up last time, we didn't have time to put live bait down.
No, it was I catch one and Nick catches one and back and forth. It was gangbusters. But bro, the drop shot's also a great method to get really finesse panfish profiles down, even small jigs. It just helps get that weight down. You have a little bit more feel to it too. So it's really versatile, and I'm excited to see its growth in ice.
Yeah, well, and that's a good way. Some of these really, really tiny lures, you could use super light line, and you could tether it straight to your line. You notice the drop shots I'm tying, this is from years of use, close to 3 decades on Winnie and other lakes, is I'm using a little finger of line. And I think that helps me. And there's also, Kai, bring up the walleye photo. I actually catch walleyes on drop shots too. There he is. I'm sporting it. It's not a giant, maybe a 23, 24 incher, but I could barely get it in the selfie there. It was big enough, but they'll hit drop shots too. But if they're tethered straight to the line, I've had a little less luck with big walleyes that they tend to spit it out if they have to drag a sinker, but perch are just the opposite. They're like little diesel engines. Once they get a hold of it, they'll pull your rod down the hole. And so Eric, did you get any jumbo perch over there?
Well, we did. So we got our fill of catching those shallow water walleyes and banging their heads on the bottom of the ice. And so we wanted to go for a perch adventure. We went to the main basin of Devil's Lake, and we got onto a nice school of them. And it's interesting that you showed that big giant minnow on that photo, because when I go perch fishing, I always use big stuff because I love catching jumbo perch. I don't know what it is. I mean, it's the most fun thing for me to tease those things and get them to bite and get them to chase your lure up and play with them. So I'm always using a spoon and a minnow head or something like that. But what they caught the most fish in my crew was on a mud bug with just 2 spikes on it.
Oh,
and so they would catch more fish, but I caught the jumbos. But we had fun. I mean, there's nothing better when 4 or 5 perch come onto your screen and every rod's going down and you're reeling them in and you catch pike and walleyes. Tanner talked about the walleye fishing out there on Devils, and I bet we caught 20 walleyes. They were small, but the fishery is very healthy out there, and it was a lot of fun. What I would tell people if they're going to go to Devil's Lake for the first time, you can do all your own things and go and do your research and run around, but they have some of the best guides in the upper Midwest with perch patrol. You talked about Woodland. Mitchell doesn't guide anymore out there, but he's around. McQuaid at Ackerman, Perch Eyes. There's all kinds of great guys, and they will set you up. So if you've never tried ice fishing and you want to go to North Dakota to Devil's Lake, it's one of the best places to learn about how to catch them, and those guides will set you up.
Absolutely. Variety is the spice of life, and we all know I love fishing my area. I got a great area here. I got Lake of the Woods is an hour and 15 minutes away from me. Rainy Lake is an hour away from me. But I still, if you haven't experienced other areas, we always talk about destinations on this show, and going to the UP for big perch, Lower Michigan, North South Dakota. Hey, you only live once, and people are traveling, and I think ice fishing people are crazy they'll drive to Cascade, Idaho to fish. But Devil's Lake has 2-pound perch in it still, I'm sure somewhere, but they grow so fast over there. That's the whole thing. The walleyes grow so fast. They only take 2 years to get to, someone said 16 inches in. So I think our fish are more like 4, 5, 6 years old at that rate. And even up in the boundary waters, way older than that.
Yeah. So how much time do I have time to tell my story about the guy?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I got a really cool story. There's a gentleman that I've known for years, and he used to be a perch patrol and whatever, but his name is Bruce. And he was the guy, believe it or not, he was the guy that put the perch in Devil's Lake, like in the 70s.
Wow.
So I'm talking to him, and he got a bunch of little stunted perch out of some lake in somewhere in North Dakota, and he was working for the North Dakota Game and Fish, and he was going to stock a little pond or whatever, and he actually got all these little stunted perch and put them in the pond, and that's how perch got into Devil's Lake. There was only 80 acres of water at that time in the 70s, bro.
Wow.
Can you believe that? Now
That's
it's like,
amazing.
I don't know if it's 100,000, but I mean, there's water everywhere, but 80 acres. And that's how the perch started in Devils. And the Game and Fish out there in North Dakota they do a wonderful job of managing it all. And, but it was really a cool story. And it's amazing that they've only been in the lake since the 70s.
It's true. It's true. And you're talking so small, but now it's like 150,000 acres. To give you perspective, Leech Lake is almost 115,000 acres. That lake just sprawls and it retains water. And Sam, have you been there?
To Devils?
Yes.
Yeah, a couple times. And like Eric said, I want to go back, and I want to bring my wife back there sometime. I think she'd really enjoy it out there. But yeah, it's a super unique fishery. We went out there, I think my first time. We've been out a couple times with Cody Roswick. And he was also talking about how quickly the perch grow too, and that it's a very renewable resource because those perch grow so quickly and then can be replaced versus some of the lakes in our area, bro. Those perch are older fish and not as sustainable. But those Devil's Lake perch have those tiny heads and those giant bodies because they're eating all those freshwater shrimp that are just like steroids for perch out there. So
their chins have chins. And now this is that time of night when we go to answering questions, and I appreciate the viewers asking them. So Kai, bring up some questions, and we're gonna kind of make a little quick panel here and answer them for them. I mean, we got a lot of knowledge sitting here. Anthony Meadows, does tungsten work better on perch with plastics or tipped with bait? Now, Eric, I'm going to have you answer that one.
So where I just got back from Devil's Lake, they like to use live bait for the perch. So they're using a minnow head, piece of minnow tail, waxies, spikes, those kind of things for perch. Now, for bluegills and crappies, I would argue that plastics work better on the bro bug, on the mud bug or the gill getter because of the action. So the perch are more, they're like gorgers. They're going around, they're eating everything that they can find. If you ever watch the perch on a camera, they'll pick up your minnow pieces off the bottom if you happen to drop one down the hole. So I would say perch, I would lean towards live bait or pieces of live bait. And for crappies and bluegills, I would lean towards plastics.
That's a great answer. And Sam, I'm going to let you go in on that. The question is really good.
Yeah, I the same way, perch usually using some sort of live bait. With panfish, I like to try both. I usually have both with me. But a lot of times Eric's right that the plastics work better, and you can catch more fish on plastics because you're not getting picked. You always have something on there that looks good. So you don't have to wonder, do I have bait? Should I reel up while the school is there? So I like to carry both, but perch live bait, panfish plastic.
Yeah, and Devil's Lake has clear water in some cases, and it does get muddled in some of the area lakes. And what I've seen around there, it's pretty doggone clear. Here's another question, Jason Alblater. What is the walleye limit on Devil's Lake? Well, I don't know. What is it, Eric? It's 5. So it's 5, and you'll have to check your possession limits there. It's a little different than anywhere else. Devil's Lake does have different possession limits than Minnesota. So
Yeah, it's 5. It's 5 for walleyes and I believe 20 for perch. But you always gotta check the regs. But yeah, it's one of the places where there's it's a pretty liberal limit.
oh, okay. It's good to know, and definitely check your regs before you go there, so you don't want to take a trip down the road in someone else's truck that you don't want to. So here's another question from Neil Rippey, and I appreciate the question. How do you fish the coffin spoon? Fast, hard, slow, easy? He gave us a lot of clues there, but Sam, you take over on that one.
Yeah, again, I've kind of answered questions similar to this, but read the fish. But one thing I like about the coffin spoon is it's kind of an in-between spoon. So the buckshots, fast falling, hard, kind of knock them around. The flutter spoon's really finessey. The coffin spoon fishes right in the middle of that. So you can fish fast and hard, but if you get it a good rip and let it fall on a slack line, it's going to have this nice little seductive wobble on the way down. So it's kind of an intermediate spoon. It's really flexible. The biggest thing is watch the fish on your graph and pay attention to their body language and see what they want to eat that day. Like Eric said, they might just want to eat it sitting there, sitting
Absolutely.
on a bucket.
And you can watch them on an Aquaview. I've been using Aquaview since Aquaview existed, and I always have. For Heather and I both, we can't make it without. We don't leave home without our Aquaview Micro 5 Revolution. Where you could just let the camera down and reel it in. You don't get the cold fingers, and so this is definitely a weapon in Devil's Lake. You'll be super happy, or you'll be cursing it because you could see the fish all the time passing up your bait. And is it me on all the times I've fished there, or did you guys notice the perch swim with their mouths open because they can't close them? There's so many shrimp in them.
Yeah, bro, it was really interesting because I always liken all fish to like any other animal. So if you throw a bone and there's one dog, sometimes the dog will come and get it. Sometimes he won't. Maybe he'll just lay down or she'll lay down. But if there's like 3 dogs and you throw the bone in there, one of those dogs is going to get that bone. So I'm always looking for three on the camera, 3 on the screen, because that's a guarantee that you're going to get a bite.
Absolutely. And what I've seen on Leech Lake, and Devil's Lake gets like this, and the area gets like this. It's the abundance of shrimp. You get a massive amount of shrimp. And in Leech Lake, we've got, there's like hundreds of yards of young of the year perch from last year and the year before. If you have a bad day, it's not because of lack of walleyes or perch out there. There's so much food. They don't have to travel. And when fish have to travel farther, they're going to hit your bait. And those fish where we fished on Lake No Telly here a few days ago with Sam and Nick, those fish would have ate a lure with no paint on it. You could wiggle your finger in the water, you would have caught a fish on it. But it's still, you got to be prepared for clear water and all that other stuff. Here's a question from Tony Beller. What tackle box do you recommend for all your ice fishing gear? I could answer that. I got one sitting right here. The Plano Edge box, because nothing's going to rust in here. And it's got a cantilever opening here, stainless steel pin, and it's been treated with a substance that won't cause rust on your baits, and it has a wick in there, so if you get snow in there or anything, it'll wick out. But the Edge are cool, and they make smaller boxes now.
Bro, what size did you have up there? I love that size that you had. What size does Plano call that one?
Yeah, this is it's a 3500. Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't want to say. I should know that. I use it all the time, but the 3500 is a smaller one, and you watch. There's a whole bunch more stuff coming, but I have all my jigs in this, and I've had boxes in the past where you open them up after being out in Lake of the Woods, and you took a snowmobile trip, whatever, and they're full of snow, and you didn't know, and then a month later, everything is orange. Like it's still full of water, and you might as well just throw everything away. You know what I mean? So love those boxes. Great question. Now here's one, Larry Deshaw. What line and pound test do you use? And Eric, you fish tournaments and everything. I want you to go for this one. What pound test do you use?
Certainly, I like for perch fishing, I like to match my line with the power of rod that I use. So I'll use braid if I'm fishing deep water, but I prefer monofilament or fluorocarbon, and I like 4 and 5 pound tests for perch. But if I'm using braid, if I'm fishing real deep water, I'll use a little bit lighter action rod and use the braid and let the rod do the shock absorption for you. If I'm fishing shallower than 20 feet, I just really like mono or fluorocarbon because I think the fish get the bait in their mouth better. There's a little bit of stretch built into it, and I think they suck the bait in better. But for perch, I like 4 and 5 pound test, and for walleyes, I'm using 6 pound, sometimes 8 if I'm going to Lake of the Woods and I'm going to catch a giant one up there. But I like a lot of 6 to 8 pound test, and I really like monofilament for walleyes with a spoon. If I'm fishing a jig, I'll use some braid, but I'm a big fan. I'm an old school dude. I like monofilament, fluorocarbon. I like a little stretch in my line.
Well, here's the thing with line too. I agree with you on everything, and Sam will agree too. I use Sunline, and I've been to Devil's Lake before, and I've brought 1 and 2 pound test. You do get some snap offs, but I've outfished everybody with super light line in tough conditions. If it's not tough, you don't have to do it. But I got a quick tip for everybody. That was a great question. I want to show you. Here's a Magnum bait station here, and that lid, and it's a really strong and super cool. But what you want to do before you go out, because I know people freeze stuff up, is take some Vaseline petroleum jelly and then coat it on the inside lip of this, so all around the lip of your bait box, and then it's not going to freeze up, because I know it happens to people. They freeze up and they bust everything. And take it tonight. I just reminded you, coat your bait box, your Magnum bait box, with a little bit of petroleum jelly. This is like a generic one, but if you coat it and then wash your hands, it doesn't have any scent. You don't have to worry about that. I think they make some scents out of that stuff, but I just wanted to include that tip because I seen online some people froze up stuff. You're not going to freeze it up if you put petroleum jelly, but we're getting close here to the giveaway. Here's one more time, Sam, just a real quick. What do you use for line in most cases? Let's just say right now, when you're going out fishing walleyes, a real quick one, a walleyes and then panfish.
Yep. Walleyes, a lot of the time I'm using 6 pound tests. I think on the ice you can get away with a little lighter. Like Eric said, the rods and the reels that we're using nowadays are so good. You have a little bit more forgiveness in that. I like a fluorocarbon just because it helps sink. And then for panfish, same thing, or your fluorocarbon. I kind of keep it general around 3 pound, 3, 4. That way I don't have to adjust too much. I don't get into the super light stuff too often. I've always been a fan of finding more angry, willing fish than going for those super finesse ones. So I just put on the heavy panfish line and go for it. And if they don't bite, I go somewhere else. So
that's an awesome one. And Sam, while you're doing that, we went through and we picked the winners, and we're going to announce the winner. We're not going to go away now. We've gotten a little bit ahead of that curve.
Yep.
Okay, Sam, you can read it, and we got a winner right now. Drum roll, please.
Yep. We'll have Kai put it up on the screen, and this is truth that we are unbiased in our winner, because I said pick an easy name, and I might butcher this one, but it's Lori Duenhoger, I believe.
Yep. Congratulations. Thanks, Lori, for listening, and appreciate. You're going to get this prize package, and you're going to have the biggest glow shot spoon in the whole area, and that bro mug you're just going to enjoy that. And razor auger. What a great pile of stuff to win. And I want to thank Craig Dickmeyer, Nick Cox, Tanner Cherney, and Eric Nigg. And Eric Nigg, we didn't even get in to your starts and stuff. He actually fished the professional walleye tournaments, and we could do that. We could talk about it another time. He's been there, done that, and wore many hats, and has been every aspect of designing tackle, and just a great, great guy. And we appreciate having you on the show. And next Tuesday, keep this ready. Keep this channel ready. We're going to have Jeff Gussie Gustafson. Yes, the guy who won the Bassmaster Elite this year is a hardcore ice angler, and he's going to be on our show. And we're not just going to be talking about one thing. We're going to go deep into hardcore ice fishing with Jeff Gussie Gustafson. So everybody come out, check that out, and you get to win something just for hanging around. Merry Christmas, everybody, and have a safe and happy ice fishing season. We'll see you next Tuesday.